All right, let's do some National College Football Roundup. Been a while.
Go. Yes.
Been a while. And of course, we will start with the drama in Austin. So here is what defensive lineman Moro Ojomo said about the culture at Texas. Quote, they're 18 to 22-year-olds that want to chase women, want to chase money, want to chase alcohol, and they don't see the future. They are distracted by what's in front of them, end quote. He then mentioned guys that are a bit like worried about NIL money instead of being worried about signing a second contract in the NFL for $50 million. He talked about Steve Sarkisian, said he should have. He said, sorry, I had to cough, people. The cough is still here, man.
Still hanging in the throat a little bit.
All these people were probably like, why did it just go quiet? Why was there no audio? And it was for me to cough. Just dying over here. But okay.
You good?
I think so.
Okay.
Ojomo, so he said this stuff, and he's a leader on the team. He's a veteran guy. He's played a lot of football for him, but he talked about how some guys just maybe don't have their priorities straight in that program.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people agree with, and a lot of people have been saying for a long time. So of course Steve Sarkisian came out and defended his guy, right?
No,
the exact opposite happened, because Steve Sarkisian came out publicly, basically said that Ojomo should have said that stuff behind closed doors, didn't like the way that he said it, the forum that he used to say it. And I don't know, it was really weird. And then he said that Ojomo's not going to be talking to the media anytime soon. So what do you think, Ted?
I think it's ridiculous. And if I was Ojomo, I would probably, well, I don't know if I would or not, but it wouldn't shock me if he hits the transfer portal. If you're frustrated with how your team is focused, if you've got too many guys that are worried about hanging out on 6th Street and worried about NIL money and not focused on doing the tough things that you have to do to go win and doing it as a team and just putting your head down and grinding through the off season and trying to make some serious headway in the program. Like, if you're frustrated about that and you say something and you're the one that's punished, like, you don't want to play there. That's ridiculous. That is, I don't know if Steve Sarkisian knows this or not. Someone maybe should break this to him. It ain't his football team. It's Ojomo's football team. He's the senior there, right? He's the one that's earned it. It ain't Steve Sarkisian's football team. It's the locker rooms, right? And if the locker room is not acting accordingly, not maintaining itself like a championship locker room should, and a senior member wants to say something behind closed doors, he can. If he wants to say something to the media, he can. That it's his team. Like, the ultimate goal for any head coach should always be that the locker room polices itself, right? That's what you want. You don't want to be the disciplined guy that has to come in all the time and try and clean up messes. You want the messes cleaned up in the locker room. That's where it all has to start. If you don't have the right guys in the locker room, it's not going to work. And here you've got a guy trying to be the right guy in the locker room, and you shut him down. It's pathetic. And it is right in line with everything that's happened at Texas over the last decade. Right? This is the problem. What's the problem is we get a bunch of really good recruits, right? They out recruit Oklahoma almost every year. They out recruited them this year. But what's the focus? The focus is on 6th Street and being a superstar down in Austin, Texas, playing for the Texas Longhorns. Well, all of that has got them as a shit record over the last decade. It's god awful. It's horrible. It's one of the worst in the Big 12, right? And here's a player that wants to change it, wants to call guys out, and wants to demand more from himself and his team, and he's slapped down for doing so. It's pathetic. It's an embarrassment. It's shocking. It shouldn't be, but it's shocking to me.
I was really surprised because I saw these comments, because these comments aren't like new,
Right.
right?
10 days or so
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, and I saw him, and I was like, good for him. That's good. I was like, and the weird part about it is I read him, and I saw the video, and I saw another video about Ojomo talking about how badly he wants to win and all these things, and I was just like, damn, Sark must love that guy. Like, what? That's the type of leader you want on your football team. Well, I was wrong. I mean, to come out and say that, and I get it, like, you know, keep it behind closed doors. What do you say? Family business is family business. Then he said, who says mow your own lawn? It's hoe your own row. Come on, Steve. No one says mow your own lawn.
Well, I don't even, that doesn't have anything to do with the.
He made it sound, the way that Steve Sarkisian said it, he made it sound like he was calling out Ojomo, like he hasn't been taking care of his stuff,
Right.
which I thought was a even weirder way to react, because by all indications, the guy's not a world beater of a player, but I've had people at Texas tell me that this guy is smart as hell and like does everything right. He's a great member in the community, like all this stuff. To say that about a player like that, it's baffling, man. I don't know.
Here's the, and I don't know what his business is like. I don't know how he maintains himself away from the facility. No idea. Frankly, I don't care. I couldn't care less. But I just, it looks to me from an outsider, when a player is calling out bad behavior, it makes it look like the coaching staff isn't, right? And whenever it looks like the coaching staff isn't, it makes it look like they're up there twiddling their thumbs while the players are running around wreaking havoc on 6th Street or whatever's going on. And it ends up shining a bad light on Steve Sarkisian, which, if you want keep your feelings from getting hurt about something, then I don't know, go have a conversation with your mom. But whenever you've got a senior player on your team trying to set a standard and develop a culture in the locker room, you may want to back that.
Yeah, that's the most confusing part. And Sark made this into a bigger deal than it ever should have been. If he got asked about it, all he had to say was, hey, Moro wants to win. We all want to win. We get it. Like he just wants guys to do the right things so that we win. It's all he had to say. And it wouldn't have been a big deal at all. The only way it turns into a big deal is by responding the way that he did. The whole situation, it's like, it's so on brand for Texas. It's unbelievable.
It is. How many times do we have to see stuff like this down there? They do not know what the hell they're doing. They don't know how to run a football program. They don't. Steve Sarkisian, I had high expectations. I thought he hired a hell of a staff. He did. He's got a great staff. There's some really good football coaches on that staff. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't. And I don't know if he didn't know what the hell he was doing from the beginning, or if he got down in Austin and the donors and the whining and dining and this backslapping and talking about how good it's going to be and how great we have it. And why don't you go spend a weekend in my lake house? Why don't you go up to Aspen and stay in my house up in like everyone's just pumping you up. They want to be a part of the program. You get soft and you let crap through the cracks, and this is what you end up with. It happens every time. They haven't had someone at the helm of that program stand up and say, like, have some like intensity about what you're doing, right? Have some accountability for yourself, for your players, set a standard, hold one another to it, champion guys that do it right, and try and hold others to that standard. This is a shit show, man. That place is ridiculous, and it's always going to be ridiculous, which is fine. Like, I don't care, but I'm tired of hearing people talk about how good of a job it is. That job sucks. That program sucks. It's shitty. The players that go there never pan out. They don't turn out. They out-recruit everyone in college football every year. That team's 5-7 and lost to Kansas last year. You would think they'd recognize stuff like this. It's horrible.
I hear you. And I think I'll write us down officially as Team Ojomo in this drama they got going on. I think we're siding with him.
Yeah, I'm siding with, like, just pick at each other. Just go bicker back and forth while everyone else in the country is trying to get better at football.
I just don't know why Sark publicly criticized him the way he did. It makes no sense. Like, the guy says, I want more of my teammates to keep the main thing and take it more seriously so that we can win more games. And you say, oh, I'm not letting him talk to you guys anymore. It's just such a weird response.
I just tell, like, go walk. Well, if you had a chance to walk around the facility and see what's going on at OU right now, you laugh at Texas and you just know that this program has run circles around that one and is going to for as long as you can see into the future. It's going to continue to happen. Place is an absolute joke. It should not be. If they're not going to take themselves seriously, no one else should.
You know how I know you're frustrated is that is by far the most you've ever cussed on this podcast.
I just think it's inexcusable.
Tiger got out of the cage.
Well, I'll tell you, man, if I was the athletic director down there, like, to me, it's almost a fireable offense. Not because of, like, he said anything that was like, it's like the words aren't that bad, but how does that happen? Like, what did I hire you to do here? Like, what are we even talking about? Like, this is the type of guy that you put out in front. Like, this is what we want. This is what we want representing our program. And you're going to, like, pull the mic and say, nope, you're done here. Don't tell everyone what's going on here. That's not what we want. Joke.
I'll say this. Chris Del Conte, the athletic director there, was the athletic director at TCU for quite some time. And there is a former TCU head football coach that is lurking in the shadows, currently on the Texas payroll.
True.
Just saying. All right, one other thing I want to talk about, Brian Kelly. So he certainly made a lot of headlines this offseason, leaving Notre Dame for LSU. He's made even more headlines this offseason with the random appearance of a Southern accent and some goofy dancing that recruits have put out there on social media. But he made some more headlines this week when he talked to our buddy Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. Had some interesting things to say about Notre Dame and why he left Notre Dame for LSU. And he made it sound like Notre Dame basically wasn't willing to give him all the resources he wanted. And he mentioned, wanting a chef dedicated to the football program, wanting a new practice facility with a new dining hall, like these things that places like Bama and Clemson and Georgia have. And I just thought it was really interesting because I think we were all under the impression that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame for LSU because of the type of players that he could get at LSU that could lead to him actually winning a national championship. But now hearing some of this stuff, it's becoming clearer and clearer that coaches, big time coaches, want to be somewhere where the school is completely bought in. And it just made me think of the stuff we are hearing Brent Venables say. And he's, talking about changing the nutrition program. We've heard him talk about pushing the administration. Best is the standard, right? He says it all the time. That stuff costs a ton of money. And I just think that, it just reminded me of the things we're hearing from BV and the new rejuvenated commitment we're seeing from the University of Oklahoma. These comments from Brian Kelly, that's the reason why you're seeing stuff like that. Yes, it has to do with moving to the SEC and with Lincoln Riley leaving and all that stuff, but there's a certain standard that the coaches have now when it comes to the investment from the program they want to lead.
Well, I get it from both sides. I get it from the administration side. If you're the administration at Notre Dame or even at Oklahoma, Oklahoma's made several college football playoffs. Notre Dame has made, what have they made, 2 or 3? They've made the playoff. So at the administration, you're saying, man, dang, we are a player or 2 away. Right? We're right there. We're close. Like we're doing a really good job with what we've got. And the coach is saying, we're not close. We've been to the playoff, lack of better options, but we've been routed every time. It's not competitive. We are really far away from winning a championship. We are not a couple of players away from winning a championship. You have in Oklahoma's instance, we're about to go to the SEC. You got to have a reason to get a kid from Georgia or a 5-star D tackle from Louisiana. Why would that kid leave those places to come to Oklahoma if everything that we have isn't at least as good? It really needs to be better, right? Dining, living, facilities, environment with the fans, tailgating before the game, everything. If you don't have that, why would a kid not go to Alabama? Because he likes the Jumpman logo? I mean, that's a piece of the pie. That's cool, but that's not going to get it done. So, I understand where Brian Kelly's coming from. It's the same thing at Notre Dame. You're not a couple of players away. It's hard as hell to get guys to go to Notre Dame because of the academic requirements. And here's the great news. You get to come to Notre Dame. School's going to be hard as hell. Our facilities aren't as good as anyone else's in the country, but you get to wear the gold helmet that they wore 50 years ago. That's not going to get it done, man. It's just not.
And that's why Brian Kelly left, right? Because I think he realizes he's on the back end of his career, right? He's nearing the end, but he knows the type of ridiculous investment it takes now. And this is pre-college football playoff expansion. I mean, imagine when this thing expands and you got to win a couple more games against, the premier teams. This stuff, this level of investment's only going to go up and up to try to gain an advantage. So I thought that it was interesting to hear Brian Kelly say that about Notre Dame, because we've been hearing Brent Venables talk about the changes that are being implemented here at Oklahoma. Like, it's still, the arms race is still going on. I know some people are like, oh, maybe the facilities stuff and that stuff will slow down. As we near going to just like some sort of super league here in the future, like, it's just going to ramp up and up, man. And it is good to know that OU's administration is on board with a lot of that stuff, and OU's coaching staff is pushing for that stuff, because Venables came from a place that put all that stuff in place, right? Everyone's seen the Clemson facility and all that stuff, right? We talked at that turnip seat about all that stuff. So it's just what schools across the country are going to have to continue to do if they want to compete at the highest level in this sport.
You're not competing against the Texas Techs and the TCUs and the West Virginias and the Oklahoma States and the Kansas States and the Iowa States. That's not who you're competing against anymore. I mean, you can win all the Big 12s you want. You could rip off the next 50 of them if you want to. The extra amount to get over the top it's a lot. It's harder to win a national championship now than it has ever been. You can't have a great season, be hot at the right time, and go win a one-off game. It doesn't happen that way anymore. You got to win back-to-back against the premier of the premier that have, like in Oklahoma's case right now, if we made a college football playoff this year and we play Alabama or Ohio State or Georgia in the first round, like, the roster, as far as like NFL ability, it ain't even close. It's not. That doesn't mean we can't go out and maybe win the game, win a one-off game. Anything can happen on any day, but it's incredibly, incredibly hard. And we've seen it. We've had really good teams before. Kyler Murray won the Heisman Trophy. It's 28-0 in the first quarter against Alabama.
You remember what I said to you on the sideline of that game?
Yeah.
Pre-game?
Yeah. They're going to get killed.
This ain't going to go well. I mean, it's just, the guys look different, man. They're bigger. They're better fed with these chef meals. No, that was, reading Brian Kelly's comments, it puts it into perspective, right? What it truly takes. And some people may view it and be like, man, I can't believe they spend that type of money, right? But you look at what, the Bamas and the Georgias and the Ohio States are doing. Yeah, it's going to take an incredible amount of investment from all of us. Coaches, fans, administration, radio guys. That's why you hear Venables talking about that all-in stuff like he means it. Because it is.
Gotta be.
That's how it's got to be.